Hello, all of you wonderful beings out there. Welcome to the stream. I am Razim. I am Eepy, Your Honor. So, we're gonna do DevTales. This'll only go good, right?
Absolutely.
It can only go well when I am this tired, yes. We're gonna do our best. But this is the first DevTales of 2026. This is for our SCAR system, or Stories and Creatures in Alternate Realities. It's available on our Discord as well as itch.io as a open playtest for playing as Pokemon, Digimon, monsters from Monster Hunter, and much more. Like we have a Star Wars campaign we'll be doing tomorrow. So that's a good thing, that's a fun thing, and all that. And I should probably move over to this. One of you could lead tonight.
Points at Tal.
I was about to say it's gonna be me.
I would offer if I had spoons left from today. But
Yep. So we have quite the to-do list because we haven't had one of these in over a month. So up to you guys if you want to do the suggestion hour at the start of this, or if we just want to work on the pretty fairly filled to-do list.
I think we'll skip the suggestions list for today. Sorry, Blue Bat.
Alrighty.
I think we got plenty to work on otherwise, and might as well get to it.
All right. In that case, we can go over some of the weapon stuff a little bit later because that's going to be a little bit more in-depth. So, first of all, sub-maneuver for disarm steel. Since we do not currently have a dedicated thing specifically for stealing. Right now, the way that our disarm maneuver works is that you do the opposed check however the skills stack up to you trying to do it. If you meet or beat the target's roll, it's dropped at their feet, and if you surpass the roll, it is flung 5 feet away for every 2 successes. You get to decide the direction the item is sent in if you make a subsequent roll. However, none of these rules allow you to actually just dedicated take the item for yourself.
were you planning on this being like a feat upgrade to the disarm ability?
No, we were talking about it being a sub-maneuver like we have for movement.
Okay.
And honestly, I'd like to get some more sub-maneuvers altogether. Things that are just parts of parts of the main thing, but distinct enough to stand on their own. Like the 5-foot step and sprint, which I think are the only 2 sub-maneuvers we have. I think they're both sub-maneuvers.
Yeah, there was also one that we were thinking about adding where it was going off of grapple rules, but it would move people instead, or move past them.
What were you thinking of how the steal maneuver would mechanically work? Because grabbing a weapon out of somebody's hand is harder than knocking it out. So mechanically, what were we thinking?
Normally when we do stuff like that, it would be at increased difficulty, or it being a more difficult attempt.
Yep, I'd be fine with increased difficulty. I just wanted to ask in case you guys had a plan already.
I like
Go ahead.
It doesn't necessarily have to be super complicated at all. Where is it? Let me bring it up in front of me. I think we should do it just a simple +1 difficulty, but you can, otherwise the previous rules will still apply. You know, the main rules will still apply, but you can use subterfuge instead of one of the skills listed above. So you can still stick with the clash or brawl, but you can also use subterfuge if that is what you want to use instead. And otherwise, yeah, just +1 difficulty, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we want to cross-apply the same concept over to the move through and the grapple being, or for the grapple subcategory of just moving through? Make it so it's normally athletics or what have you, but you can also use evasion.
I mean, I'm not against that. I feel like we already have rules for this.
I don't remember, sorry.
For grapple, no. Grapple is explicitly just acrobatics or athletics.
No, the move through one.
We were talking about it. I don't think we actually put it in, though, because we haven't had a dev session since that has been a thing.
Okay, so...
Point of discussion, I don't think. I'm gonna double check our notes real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now. We did have a new classification of tactical maneuvers. And under there, it does have push past.
Oh, yeah, we have it listed, it just was never put into the document. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was planning to do a SCAR update last month, and then things happened, and I just didn't get around to it, so... So yeah, it is a simple +1 difficulty for one trying to push past. I mean, I like the idea of allowing evasion in addition to, you know, the normal acrobatics or athletics. We can just put that on the notes from where we put the push past.
Yeah, that's fine. Just stick them all together.
Well, the evasion part we'll put on the notes from 12.4, and then the new stuff.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am very Eepy Lightning, yes. I'm trying. I have, well, I don't know how many ounces this is, but I've got an extra large, Mountain Dew Code Red here, and an extra large coffee cappuccino thing. I've got no functionality at all. Alright, so
But yeah, so just disarm, submaneuver, steal, +1 difficulty for making the attempt to steal an item instead of disarm it.
Yes.
Yep, can also use subterfuge.
And may also use subterfuge.
They also use subterfuge as an intended skill.
Alright, so that is that taken care of.
So skipping past the weapon stuff, bringing up an old thing that we kind of weren't sure what to do with originally, which was additional target giving a minor accuracy bonus if reusing targets on the same person. It just being like +1 accuracy.
Could you explain that in another way, maybe?
So this has come up in multiple games where people have additional target and were trying to use it in ways in which they would get a bonus for, stacking it on the same person, and we never really had a good way of doing that. So I was thinking that the additional target is like 12 XP. Accuracy is only 6 XP. So maybe giving them a way of, if you have a multi-additional target move doesn't become useless in a 1v1 or against a boss, but without it being XP efficient.
I don't think we should, like, currently you're not able to target the same person multiple times with an additional target. And I think we should keep it that way.
Alright.
Because while, yeah, it could be nice to give that flexibility, well, sometimes that flexibility does have to come at the cost of, well, if you're on a one-on-one fight, then, well, it's not going to be as useful.
Yeah. It's just something that has come up multiple times, so I thought of like an EXP inefficient thing.
Well, so what is your thought there?
On some tokens, I understand why we have that around, so... Okay. So, thinking through this, yeah, it kind of sucks if you end up in a situation where you're only fighting one target a lot. Having a move like that. At the same time, you're generally not making a move like that. It's a hard one. I don't know if we want to make it so that way you get a +1 to accuracy for hitting the same target. That would just encourage people to make nothing but that style of move.
That's essentially Furry with extra steps.
No, it isn't. No, you don't get to reuse it. It's just like, instead of using the additional target, you just get +1 accuracy instead.
Okay, so you're not hitting multiple times. You're hitting...
No, it's literally just expending it in exchange for literally just getting one more accuracy dice.
Oh!
That's why I called it an EXP inefficient
That's why I was... Okay.
No, it's not it's not basically rolling with advantage. It's literally
it's
just
stacking.
Hey, here you could technically try and shotgun blast them with this, so like, here, 1 dice.
I thought
Okay,
you were
additional target.
I thought you were saying that, okay, you're fighting one-on-one, you've got additional target 1, well, you get to hit them with the same move twice.
No, not that. It's literally just accuracy through volume, the pity modifier for having something where it's like +3 additional targets, so you could target 4 people. So instead you just get like +3 accuracy on the move.
In that case...
Because it's harder to reach all of them, technically, as the thought process.
In that case, I'm still not certain. Because, honestly, additional target is just... It's just leaps and bounds better than the other AoEs. Like, you have to invest so much
in low amounts, but yeah.
Well, in general, because, like, the way additional target works is, you got 2 people that are on opposite sides of you, Uh, Sphere and the other AoEs are incredibly situational on whether they are better than additional target or not. Whereas additional target is so flexible because, you know, you've got one enemy 30 feet in front of you, you got another one 30 feet behind you. Sphere AoE is going to be useless. But if you've just got one additional target on it and the range, well, you hit both of them. Despite them being, you know, 60 feet from each other.
Yeah,
Honestly,
which is why I was
think...
fine with just like axing it, but it was just more like, you know, more of like a pity thing. The other thing is that additional target doesn't scale as well as the other AoEs. It's better at low amounts, but at high amounts, the others are better usually.
Yeah, but you also have to invest so much XP to get them that it winds up just being better to go with the additional target, at least to me. That might be something we want to revisit.
It would also help to see things at a little bit higher level a little bit more often so we can see what a lot of these mid-range things look like. Because Sphere and stuff like that feel a lot more mid-range than early game.
The only thing that I have... I think the only person I've seen use a Sphere is Kin.
Thales uses it with magic, not with moves. So far.
Vayne has a Sphere AoE.
Okay, well... We'll see if he gets to use it then.
Well, he used it. He used it against Hoopa. It's his bypass accuracy sphere.
Well, yeah, but that's not really something.
Hoopa with.
That was a single target thing, and not really a good representation of the usefulness of it.
Fair.
Anyways, if we did something like that, I have a feeling that what we could do as an alternate to that idea is we could make it a feat where anything that would normally hit multiple targets could be changed into a single target and increase accuracy instead. I think that would feel better. That way it applies to sphere, line, and cone, as well as multiple targets. And has some level of scalability with the move itself.
You know, I'm not against that idea. A feat that
I would
just
also encourage people... Go ahead.
A feat that gives bonuses if you have AoE on the move, but you're only targeting a single target. I like that idea.
May encourage people to take those AoE options a little bit more often. Granted, that would also mean that you'd have to dump experience into it, but it's a feat, so it'll cross applies to basically everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, you'd be able to use it on anything. That's the good thing about feats.
Well, for now...
Do we want me to just put bonuses, or do you want me to put accuracy for the note thing that I'm writing?
For now, I would say we're not going to implement anything with the additional target right now. For now, just put on the feat ID... Oh, put that feat ID on the to-do list instead.
Okay.
Because we still need to actually figure out what we want it to do.
Cool. Put it up here.
Aw, Merle, do you want to just crawl into someone's lap and get soft pets?
Merle cute.
Merle is cute.
Is Merle a good boy?
I'm actually gonna leave like a single gap space, so we know what I'm just like adding on to the front and what we actually still have to go over for now.
Yeah, I want to go through the other stuff first, and then we can come back to that if we have time.
Yep. So that Thanos snap that. So, leadership having move it, which allows the target to use a movement action immediately.
I very much like that idea.
Completely fine with it. You're
Yep,
giving
the
up
only
your
thing-
action economy for somebody else's.
Yeah, so we want to make that a quick action. Like the one where it gives temp HP.
I would say
Go ahead.
I would say a quick action for the target's full movement, but you can also use it as a reaction to allow them to use half of their movement.
All right. So. So quick action is allows target to use a reaction to move full movement. I guess that's a decent way of putting it. Quick action allows target to use a reaction to move full movement.
Yes.
Right. And then reaction allows target to use a reaction to move half movement range. Do we want to stick this as a 9 XP cost like the other quick action Primeval Leadership upgrade?
The temp HP I feel is movement can be pretty good.
Especially because this lets you, as a reaction, get out of the way of an AoE.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and do it as 9, yeah.
Alright. So another thing that got brought up was changing the scaling on confusion self-damage. Because right now the scaling is kind of low.
Right now there is no scaling, it's just...
Well,
it's a thing.
It does technically. It technically goes from 2 to 4 to 6.
Well, yeah, but when we say scaling, it means scaling with the player.
Yeah.
Doesn't the damage bypass accuracy?
So confusion,
It's condition damage.
yeah, it bypasses integrity,
Or integrity?
but it's like even at lower, even at character creation, it's minimal damage. Or it's negligible. You can just safely ignore that.
And the damage only procs 30% of the time.
Yeah. It procs only 30% of the time, and it's a measly 2 dot d10. At most 6 dot.
That's at level 3.
Yeah, that's
There's
if you
no
get...
real differences between intensity 1 to intensity 3 besides what the self-damage is.
You have a suggestion on how to scale it without it becoming too insane? Because my concern would be that it would become one of those things that you take at low levels. Just a white floor.
The thing coming to my mind is changing it to percentage of max health. I'm thinking like 10, 20, and then 30. 30, 20, and then 30. 20, 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 Which, again, that can be pretty egregious if you get an intensity 3 on you. However, intensity 3, it takes quite a bit to get somebody to intensity 3 on a condition. And even then, that is only a 30% chance of even happening, period. But then it would carry forward, all the way to endgame as being a actual threat. And welcome home, Fluffy. Pat the mofu mofu.
Well, it's kind of already a threat because it eats up a standard action and it eats your quick action.
Yeah, eating your action economy is probably its biggest draw over the damage. The damage is just a cherry.
The main problem right now is mostly that intensity 1 might as well be as good as intensity 3.
That is true. Do we instead want to change the self-damage to a flat amount across the intensities? And instead adjust what the confusion effect, what the chances are for confusion effects? Instead of...
Go
ahead. In right now, instead we could do, for intensity 1... when you roll the 1d10 to determine what your action is, a 1 to 2 could be the movement. 3 to 4 is the self-damage, and then 5 to 10 is action as normal. And then we adjust it, and then intensity 2 would, increase the other 2 more, and so on.
Do we want to adjust what the condition does at a base then, with the standard action eating and the quick action disable?
I guess we could get rid of the disabled quick actions.
Eat a standard.
Yeah, it just eats a standard.
Disables quick actions.
But then at intensity 3, you've got your, I think you'd have a 20% chance of actually doing a normal action. With what I was suggesting.
Because it would go 1 to 2, then 1 to 3, then 1 to 4. Yeah, it'd be 20%. So it goes 60, 40, 20% for your chances of doing your normal action that you wanted to do.
I think I like that. As for the self-damage, I still think we should change that 10%. Just, it wouldn't change with intensity, but, anytime you roll the self-damage, it would be 10% of your max health. Ooh, I am going ferret. Duke Duke.
Just flat 10%?
Yeah, just flat 10%.
Okay, at least that'd be an easy number to teach people how to do, and they might actually remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on the sheet I can make it so it auto-calculates what their confusion damage would be. It becomes 10% of max HP. Intensity 1.
Vari, that's, it's hard to come up with a way for that to work out. I think the 10% damage would be the best, because then, you know, if they've got the healthy feats and such, they're going to wind up taking more damage. Technically. Because, well, if you've got 15 health versus the others that have only 10, they'll be taking 1 damage, you take 2. But
It could also be based off of a percent of how much damage they already have on them.
that, I feel, would get too complicated.
That's fair.
But you do make a good
Possibly.
point, Vari, that is a very, very valid thing. I guess I just worry about making it tied to, like, Strike, because then that might encourage people not to invest in Strike. And, well, we already have nobody investing in Strike, so...
Could always make it so that way the self damage is guaranteed condition damage equal to percentage of highest integrity stat.
Repeat that?
Make it a percentage of the target's, the afflicted's highest integrity stat.
Oof, that would eat integrity users alive. Or integrity focused characters alive.
Yeah, that's... There's the problem here is figuring out a good way to have it scale so it is always dangerous without it seeming like it's targeting only one person. Because, yeah, you do make a good point. If you've got the healthier feat, well, you take more damage because of it. That doesn't make much sense. But if we tie it to integrity, well, then high integrity users are going to get eaten alive. If we tie it to, you know, one of the combat stats, then combat, you know, ones that use that stat are going to take a lot of damage. And
let's just go with Kiss. Let's just go with the 10% flat. That's easy math and easy to handle. And no rolling, so it's quick to deal with.
Yeah, I think that is the best route.
Yep.
Because it is really easy to deal with 10%. If you don't know how to do 10%, people of any number,
Don't know what to tell you.
move the decimal point over once. 10%.
You know, technically, if you're a starting character with a wound or two, you technically wouldn't take any damage.
Didn't you say
You need to have
max
2
HP?
wounds, but yeah. You need to have a level 2 wound.
You need to have 2 wounds, but technically it would round to 0, so... But, you know, I think that's okay. If they've already got 2 wounds, I think we can let them have a pass. Or, you know, 2 wounds at character creation, but, you know...
At that point, they are going through it already.
Exactly!
At that point, they should be using their turn to dig.
Anyways, the confusion condition update, I went ahead and put in the notes. I think those numbers are what you wanted.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Meryl, I do know people that can't figure out 10% or 20%. No matter how many times I've explained it to them the easy way of doing it.
Well, it also doesn't help when you use foreign language like ellipses.
I'm gonna put you in a closet.
It's too late for that, baby. I already left the closet forever ago.
You
God,
might have
that
left it, but
hurt
I'm putting
me.
you back in. Good, you deserve to feel pain. For that.
Yeah, I'm about to say that was entirely deserved, even if it was self-inflicted.
Welcome to Sleep Deprived Zim, everybody.
Yay.
What's next?
Meld and combo interaction decision. Which I realized that we have we actually already have rules that would have covered it. A little bit. But we both forgot that we made this a rule forever ago at the time. Which is, one rule in combos already is that if you do a action for your combo that has more than a standard action cost, the accuracy and and damage difficulty goes up.
Yeah, it does.
So we both just kind of forgot that.
It does kind of cover it. I think we should just not allow meld and combo to interact. I think that's inviting too much complication to things. So if you're doing a combo, sorry, you cannot do a meld as well with the combo. Essentially, you're already doing a combo. Or a meld. With the combo, you're just melding with somebody else.
That is a different thing, but yeah.
Am I not understanding what you're trying to say?
Oh, because one of the things we were going to be going over with this was also if a meld also counts as a combo.
You know,
Because currently in melds right now, there is nothing saying that they can't crit and that they count as like a self-combo type thing effectively. So this is also going to be bringing up the thing of if melds count as like a self-combo for rules.
okay. I think what we should do is make meld a sub-maneuver off of combo. It's essentially going to be a self-combo. And I think the way we handle it is the exact same as combo. It's just your second attack has that -5 penalty to accuracy.
Well, there's also other things to do with that, which is, for instance, when doing a combo, you have to use teamwork expertise, which means you'd have to use teamwork with yourself.
Fair, we can, you know, just not have that part as well. So that is another way that'll differ, but I still think we might as well make it a sub-maneuver. You can use any expertise you want, and you've got the -5 penalty to accuracy, and otherwise it works the same as combo. Cannot crit, cannot, you know, all of the other parts with combo. Brain is
All right,
not remembering everything.
We were also we had kicked this down the line because people weren't using melds as much, but there was going to be specific feat support for stuff like melds. Are we going to axe that?
I'm okay with, feats and such applying to sub-maneuvers. Just because
Alright.
they're under the umbrella of something else doesn't mean we can't have the things that are applicable to them. Like we've got the 5-foot step is a sub-maneuver for movement, and we have a feat for quick step.
Yeah. No, I was just making sure because it's like, you know. If it's here's a good question. If I have a feat that applies to the overarching maneuver and I use a sub maneuver, do I still get the feats related to that overarching maneuver, considering that it's a part of the umbrella tag that I have the feat for?
I think we'll handle that on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. The reason that I'm asking for this one in particular is because there's things like we have the all-together... Then again, maybe that won't actually affect in. But, you know, we do have some, like, combo maneuver feat support. And we might add more in the future, so it was more about, like, just trying to figure out how that's gonna work.
I like I said, I think it'll be a case-by-case basis. By default, no, they will not apply.
Alright.
We'll specifically put into the feat that it applies to, the combo maneuver and its sub-maneuvers. If we ever add more. But any disagreements on this, Sarah?
No, none so far. If we want to move it as a sub maneuver, that's perfectly fine. I was underneath the assumption that you couldn't use a meld with a combo anyway, so.
There was no rules saying that you couldn't.
Gotcha.
It would just be at an increased difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that because then, we get 2 people using 2 melds in a combo, and that just gets out of hand fast.
Yeah, granted, they would both get the increased difficulty, so it would be a really unwieldy combo attack.
Yeah, but even at +1 difficulty, that is still a hell of a lot of dice. And
No, it's not +1, it's +2.
Oh, it's +2.
Yeah, it's +2 difficulty.
Fair enough. Still, I just say no. Just don't allow that.
I'm gonna go take my meds really quickly. You guys can keep talking.
All right.
All right. So, next order of business. How cute is Era?
Pretty cute.
Yeah, I think he is pretty freaking cute. Great guy.
I think it's a
Wonderful
pretty
friend.
empirical quality. Yeah.
Yeah. Just completely not open for debate. Like, nobody needs to debate it at all.
Nope.
I mean, even he's not debating it.
I know. I'm gonna eat you both. Now I'm gonna go take my meds.
Ah, yes, the Fom and Foosh magic words. I think that's something we'll come back to later.
Yeah, I was about to say that's more of like extreme low priority,
Yeah.
especially considering entropy is still in the it doesn't exist yet stage. Discussion: what happens when you botch a cleanse?
So, I mean, we already have a rule that if you botch a healing roll, then they take half of it in damage. I think part of me wants to say that if you botch a cleanse, then whatever you're trying to cleanse gets worse by one stage.
That would make it so no one would ever accept a botch on a cleanse ever for any reason.
Ah, fair.
So, here's a different thing.
Oh,
First
hey,
off, I
Naso.
think we might want to have slightly different rules based on if it's a scene condition or a persistent condition, because those are treated differently. So one common theme with persistent conditions is that they deal damage. So if we make it so that way the persistent condition, let's say you botch it, it immediately gets to roll its damage against you again.
I like that.
And for scene conditions, maybe not the intensity, but what if the SR raises? Just making it harder to get rid of.
I like that.
Because that's still like a oof, ouchie, I don't like that effect. But that's an effect where I could look at it and go, you know what, I'll just eat it.
Maybe we do that for the persistent as well. And I'm thinking kiss, you know. If it's a condition, the SR to resist it or get rid of it goes up by 1. Regardless of how bad you botch. For dots, I would say we go with that. You know, they immediately roll the damage on you again. And then for stat changes, I would say you get an additional stat change debuff.
Yeah, it worsens by 1. That one I'm fine with it worsening, because that's all it does anyway.
And yes, I'm fine with all that now that I'm back.
Okay.
Actually, do we even have an SR to reach for removing stat changes, or is it just they get...
Specifically, no. It just reduces the amount by 1.
So then,
so, like, let's say I'm at -2 physical integrity. I try and cleanse it. I botch it. I'm now at -3 physical integrity. That won't ever happen because there's no roll. You just
yeah. So we don't need to worry about stat change. That one they cannot botch. They do it. So yeah, that one doesn't matter, but for dots, I say they get to roll the damage, and for other conditions, more proper conditions, the SR goes up by 1.
Alright, so botching a condition. Botching a scene or persistent condition cleanse results in the save SR rising by 1. Botching a damage over time cleanse results in the DOT applying to you again instantly, or rolling damage instantly. Damage again instantly. These effects do not care how many you fail by, or botch by.
Sounds good.
Alright, next condition-based thing. Multiple applications of the same condition with different save SR. What happens when you try and cleanse it? Like, let's say someone puts Blight on you, and they have SR of 7. And someone else puts a single intensity of Blight on you, and they have an SR of 4.
I would FIFO that.
First in, first out. That requires
Yep.
people keeping track of which one applied first.
I want to. My gut instinct is you should already be tracking that, but
Well, the thing is that they apply additively, so then you'd have a stage intensity 2 Blight on you.
I think I like how we were handling it in the moment of the first one, or you get to roll, and, you know, if you get 7, like in your example, you get 7 successes, you remove the 7 one, and so it drops down to Blight 1. But if you only get 4, then the 7 one is still there, but it does still drop down to intensity 1 because you got rid of the 4 one.
wouldn't it be better just to say at that point in time the lowest SR?
The highest successful SR is
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the highest successful one is what gets removed. So that way you can attempt for the high one, but if you don't make it, you still at least get the lower one. How are you, Naso, by the way?
Alright, next up, a discussion. Size, change effects, and equipment. We have different effects that can change someone's size, but there is no codified rules about what happens to any equipment they may or may not have. For instance, shapeshifting. There is no mention of what happens to equipment that the shapeshifter is wearing if they increase their size with grow/diminish.
I would
We
say
don't have grow and diminish. Go ahead.
I would say if it's magical, then it'll resize with them. We'll just have that mechanic there, that it'll resize / reshape as needed for the new form. For mundane equipment, I would say the wearer gets to choose whether, you know, they tear out of it or shrink out of it, or it just kind of disappears into their new form. So
That, where you can't do that for a very particular reason.
why?
That would result in someone who is capable of changing size, wearing heavy armor, waiting until they get it broken, and then using that to bust their heavy armor off of their character, removing all of the negative penalties in the middle of combat. So we kind of can't do that.
So do we
So
just
if I'm
want
able to
to
just go.
do we just want to make it that all equipment just kind of, because all of these effects that are going to change your size are magical anyways. So why can't the magic just carry the effect for the mundane items of, okay, it resizes or melts with you? Whatever you choose.
Because there's primeval forms, which you're able to change your size if you go into a different form. There is the shape-shifting grow/diminish. I forget if we already have it implemented yet, but there's also going to be magic bullshit for that.
I don't think we have grow or diminish in magic right now.
Right now, I think it was one of the planned ones, and we just didn't put it in
Yes.
yet. So we have at least 3 different ways of them doing it. But yeah, so that's why I figured we should really get this edge case. Not even really an edge case, it's just more of like an interaction. If we want, we could put it in as a trait that makes it so that way if, you know, the wielder changes size, it, you know, changes size with the wielder. We could make that like an equipment-specific thing. Or we could just, you know, just straight up slap it saying, yeah, if you change size, your equipment changes with you.
I say just kiss. It changes with you.
Alright.
Or it melts. You can... That way they can choose if they want it to even appear or just not be visible, therefore, but you still get the effects.
Yeah, well, the way that it shows up on them is irregardless, because that's handled by other things. This is just more about if it still works. Change size categories. Your equipment will automatically change size with you. So they continues to function. Size category. Alright, changing size category. If you change size categories, your equipment will automatically change sizes with you, so the equipment continues to function in your new size category.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Discussion. A second wind cleanse feat upgrade, where you're able to choose between only affecting conditions or stat changes. Do we want to include this?
I'm thinking it over.
Yep. Yeah, so this is sort of thought of because we have a feat upgrade for the second wind healing option, where with that and other like sources of natural healing like resting, you get to roll twice and take the better result. So that is obviously a very significant upgrade in terms of that, but we don't have one of those for the cleanse version.
Can you say that again? My brain decided to delete this, apparently.
So a second wind cleanse feat upgrade. So for the second wind cleanse option, where you're able to choose between only affecting conditions or stat changes if you so wish. So a way that this might work is, let's say you have a couple stacks of protect and insulated on you, but the enemy is an asshole and has just, you know, giving you the most crippling minus stat changes possible to the point where you can't do anything. If you have this, you could choose to only reset your stat changes, and you wouldn't have to clear out all of your conditions. This would not make it so you only have to clear away or get to clear away negatives. It just lets you choose between one or the other of stat changes or conditions in order to focus your efforts more effectively. So for the other way, like imagine I have, these stat changes on me and I have this upgrade and someone afflicts me with a drooling idiot and makes it so that way I have, stage 2 burn and stage 2 weary or frostbite, stage 2 frostbite. That's the one where it's outgoing. And it's like, hey, I don't want that. I'm gonna use this to upgraded second wind cleanse to only reset my conditions.
So basically, you'd roll against one thing, period, one side or the other.
No, because the second wind cleanse, but yeah, it would only affect one side, positive and negative on both sides. So if you have a protected stack and you have a negative condition you want gone, you'll still have to swipe away that protected stack that your ally just applied to you. But it would leave any stat changes you have unaffected.
Okay. We'd have to word that very carefully.
Yes. Since the other thing that I was thinking of for that is that since the feat that we have that interacts with that is locked behind vigor, we could try and lock this behind willpower or something to make it so that way there's a secondary stat that you have to get to in order to get this, in order to gate it more.
Yeah, I think I like that.
Because obviously this is desirable out of 10. But it's also like, we can gate this. I make it so you actually have to invest to get it.
I don't know. Part of it is that you're literally buying something that will technically limit you. I know that there are benefits to it, because, if you've got positive conditions on yourself, but a bunch of negative stat changes, then, yeah, that's why you would want to pick this up. But overall, this is technically limiting you and is a very situational thing.
I think a better way of putting this would be that you're able to exclude resetting one or the other. Able to choose to. Like, you don't have to. It's a may, not a must. So that way, if you still want the original one, you could just choose to not apply the fee.
Well, yes.
Yeah. But the reason that I'm bringing this up is because, let's say someone has basically a bunch of stat changes that they've built up, and someone applies them with the crippling, a super crippling condition that they don't really have a chance at removing, like naturally. Like, let's say their roll for that particular condition is like 12 dice, and the SR is like a 14 because it was like, a goated full action thing. Technically, under normal circumstances, if you wanted to second wind cleanse that, you'd also have to wipe away your multiple turns of your the positive stat changes you've been building up to get rid of that one condition with the second wind cleanse. And that is, well, it's worth it, but also like, oof, ouchie.
I would say,
Or
Instead, what if we allow them to keep half of their positive conditions slash and stat changes? So it'll still get rid of all of the negatives, but not all of the positives as well. And that way it doesn't feel like you are purchasing it specifically to limit yourself. And it still feels like a worthwhile pickup. So it'll function, basically, my proposal is that it'll function the same as it does now, it's just you still get to keep half of your positives. Which, of course, would be rounded up. So, you know, if you've got a stack of protected on you, well, you'd get to keep that because it's, you know, you just have that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with that. I like the idea of being able to take a scalpel to it, but, you know.
My concern
I'm fine
is
if it's just halved.
My concern is just that it'll be, it'll feel more, it feels more like you're limiting yourself rather than just getting a benefit from a feat. Which we generally are trying to keep it to benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as limiting in any way, but... I mean, I guess technically it is, but it's in the same way that, like, you know... you're limiting, able to limit, quote-unquote, effects that you don't want to apply at the moment on a move. That's technically limiting yourself as well.
You know what? Why not both?
Make one for each?
No, I'm saying you pick up one feat, and then you have two different effects that you can use in the moment from it. So if you want to... do the keep half of your positives while getting rid of all the negatives, you can do that. Or you can choose to have it affect only conditions or only stat changes.
Or we want to call it something like selective wind or something.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Selective wind. That sounds like somebody choosing whether or not to release gas in a supermarket.
I mean, it also goes with the theme of our thing where we call it wind or breeze if it's related to second wind.
Yeah, I know, but it's just
And
that particular
selective breeze sounds worse.
True. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying that's what I thought when I heard that.
Still better than selective breeze.
But anyways, yeah.
Selective breeze.
Back to you. All right. Do we want to put this somewhere around willpower 3? If we want this to be related to willpower?
That sounds good.
Prerequisite
Actually,
willpower 3.
I think we should maybe make it soul.
Soul 3?
Yeah, we do kind of use soul for, you know, soul save and cleansing anyways.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it'd be nice to have a, more, have a little bit more variety there, but it should be tied to the thing that it involves. Good night, Merle.
Yeah. God.
And ducks,
The only other reason that I was. God.
no DAH tonight. Go ahead.
Nah, not tonight. The only reason that I brought that up is because a lot of the other second wind related feats use vigor or will or both. So I guess this is technically gating it a bit more if you're going into the second wind build, because then you're going to want some soul as well. Which encourages people to buy more stuff, I guess.
Yeah. I say soul still.
Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter that much, so long as there is a prerequisite. All right. Cool. Discussion. Add social reaction per turn. Allows players to try and convince an opponent or ally to something with a roll each turn.
So this was something that I had come to mind last night. Which I am 100% okay with making this a feat upgrade. That would basically give you a limited reaction per turn. But basically you're the tank and you see the enemy about to target your squishy healer. You could use this reaction to, roll an intimidate or a presence to try and get them to attack you instead. Or,
Goading.
What was that?
Goading. That's called goading.
Ah.
Yeah.
Or whatever else you might have. I want to keep it more generalized, but that's one example of what you could use it for. But like the healer themselves, if they had it, they could maybe use a deception to try and convince the opponent that they're not worth targeting. Instead, maybe try that one.
What about making it a skill reaction? So that way they can use... God.
I like that idea.
So that way they could use, basically any valid skill. Like, let's say someone brings out a new weapon, skill reaction, appraise. What does that shit do?
That's even better. I like that.
And that would be a feat, correct?
Yeah.
Well, my default was not a feat, but I am okay with making it a feat.
We could always do the classic of can do it as a feat normally without a feat, and then can do it as a reaction without a feat, and then if you have a feat, you can do it once for free without spending your reaction.
I like that.
Just put it in and then give it a feat upgrade that makes it more desirable.
So basically, you'll use your reaction for it, but if you've got a feat, you don't spend your reaction on it.
Yeah. At least for, the first time or whatever. Just to avoid someone from going, well, this is a free action, so, on every enemy's turn, I'm going to be rolling skill reaction.
Yeah.
Because, no, we're not letting that shit happen.
So did we want to add this as a maneuver, or part of the maneuvers, then?
I was
Underneath
thinking...
the AOO? As a sub?
Well, do we actually have action of opportunity as a maneuver? I thought that was separate. Yeah, that is separate.
Yeah, that's a separate rule. It's in the extra/miscellaneous combat rules.
I was thinking of just putting this in under the actual action section. Under reactions. So it's not a... Because I don't think it needs a full section on its own. But this way, it's a, it'll be a subpart of the reaction section and just saying, yeah, you can use a skill as a reaction, such as attempting a presence check to get the enemy to target you, or praising their new weapon they just brought out, or whatever the situation may call for. Because I'm going to be frank, it's a feels bad moment to me. I understand why, for action economy and stuff, but it is a feels bad moment to me when it's like, okay, do I actually, attack this turd, or do I use one of my actions to appraise this wall of force that is approaching us for what it might do to us?
I'll be honest, it's one of those things that every mage is going to have to take ever for spell identification.
To be fair, let's be real. Just about every character ever should probably take the feat for this. Because it gives you a more active role in combat.
Yes, but that's also why I don't want it to be a feat by default.
Yeah. But, like, you should take the feat anyway, so that way you get to just do it.
Well, yeah. But I think having it as a reaction would be better.
Well, I'm fine with it then.
To use skill action as a free action. Right.
Because, yeah, let's be real. While we do have a lot of things that make use of reactions, we could always use more.
Yep, especially because we literally have a feat that specifically scales reactions that you can use.
Exactly.
And it's nice if it doesn't only interact with parry builds. Well, parry builds and now primeval leadership.
Doesn't it also scale with attack of opportunity?
Well, yeah, but you can't proactively do that. You have to wait for people to walk into that.
Technically, you have to do that with parry as well.
Yeah, but there's other feats you're able to get that lets you interject with your parries that are attacking other people, so...
Well, considering the feat that just gives you more reactions, what does that require, actually?
It scales off of your initiative. It requires at least initiative 2, and you get 1 reaction for every... Basically, the amount of reactions you have per turn is equal to the amount of skill dots you have in initiative.
Right. I don't know if we should bother making the skill reaction feat upgrade. Because, frankly, I think that the additional reactions would be the better choice anyways. Unless you just have no initiative, but... Either way, we'd probably wind up making this and then pre-rec. Well, I guess we don't have to have a pre-rec, but... I don't know.
We can give people the op. Like, I guess it doesn't hurt having the feat for it.
And they can always just get rid of it later.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's kind of hard to just be stuck with something in Scar. Intentionally.
It is one of the most beautiful parts about Scar. Because holy crap, it is such a feels bad moment when you're doing like Pathfinder or D&D and you make a bad choice and it's like, well, technically I cannot change it.
Or you got the GM that decides to build against you for the rest of the campaign because you got really, really good at killing living things, so they threw you into an dead adventure suddenly.
Or that.
Yeah, they suddenly went, "Fuck you! You're gonna go fight Strahd now."
Oh, you spent all your money refocusing on fighting undead? Well, now that's golems.
I know I was playing a ranger at one point and just got really bored with it because, well, you know how D&D screwed over ranger. And, well, the way that the DM let me change it required my character literally dying. Which, you know,
the classic, oh, if you want to change your thing, okay, just kill your character and make a new one.
It was a die and then resurrection thing, but it was still kind of like, oofda. I wound up, like, he also was going to put in some restrictions and stuff, but then I went ahead and passed on it, but then others wanted to rebuild, and so he was like, okay, everybody dies, everybody gets to rebuild. But it was also, he handled it well. But it was also kind of a feels bad moment.
Yeah.
If the whole party wants to switch their builds, or enough of them to the point where you have to announce the entire party dies, why are you having... Never mind.
Well, he handled it in a really good way. Like, we were dealing with a particular evil deity for... Our cleric worshipped her, and she was really really involved. So it was basically a whole story arc with that, or mini story arc with that, but he handled it well. It just would have been nice to not have to have that.
I'm gonna skip the next one and go down to another thing that has technically been on my radar for quite a while, but just hadn't actually ever made it. Which is a potential trait that could detonate dot stacks on someone for immediate damage.
I would love that in Magic.
I mean, we got options about where to slot it, but, you know. We can also put it, like, we just slap it everywhere. But it's just more about, like, oh, hey, you know, gets rid of all the dot. However, like, let's say, equivalency of you get guaranteed damage equal to the amount of dot on the person.
I like the idea.
Not quite sure what to call it, like, expunge. Can't just call it something like detonate, because that's far too generic.
You could always call it trigger or ignite.
Ignite would be a decent one, but trigger we can't do because we have triggers and spells.
True.
We have spell triggers.
Well, first off, I don't think it'll be a good move trait. I think that's definitely a magic thing.
Yeah, there's also...
Yeah, I was mentioning this to Varia earlier, and he was talking about Expurgate, and I'm just like, yeah, but I want this to be understandable to a general audience, and not just to nerds who know obscure words.
Okay, there goes fulminate.
I mean,
Even though I like that word a lot.
I am okay with obscure words.
Yeah, but there needs to be like a sort of I just like having it where like I try and find like the most generally understood good word for it. Because not many people are gonna know what expurgate means without going to Google.
While you're right, I am all for encouraging a vocabulary increase on people.
Yeah. Purge is also a good word.
I say let's actually kind of try to use more obscure words that fit better, or that fit best and such. Let's go for words that fit best and keep the more generic ones as something that we can utilize. Like, that way we can utilize it somewhere else if we need to. If that makes any sense.
Let's fulminate back in the table.
Well, fulminate doesn't work too good for this particular thing.
Damn.
I don't think.
Well, it means to explode violently and loudly, so...
Well, yeah, but this doesn't mean that you're... When I say detonate, I use that
No, I
because
know.
that's like the industry standard thing. It doesn't mean actually fucking blowing them up. I mean, you could flavor it like that. You could literally... Look, you can literally make a thing where you just call it fulminate and it has this effect. Can't use catalyze because we have catalysts.
Yeah. So ignite and purge are two on that table right now.
I say expurgate.
Expurgate? I actually do need to
Expurgate is normally related to, like, expunging objectionable things in texts. But yeah.
Remove matter through to be objectionable or unusable from a text account. Okay.
No, Vari, I don't think yo would work either here.
He might have had an idea, though.
Well, I know that's. I'm waiting for his next message, but you know, I had to say the funny thing.
Yeah. But yeah, expurgate is more about like censoring or redacting. It is a fun word, though. Oh, okay.
There's like the other part that's fun about this effect is because if you're willing to eat the cost, you can utilize this to detonate your own dot stacks or an ally's dot stacks.
I mean, if we're instantly throwing into magic, I know I'm adding into Thales' list ASAP.
It's essentially like it is a bit of a gamble, especially if you're using it on yourself. Because on the one hand, you could do a lot more damage than what the dots are. On the other hand, you could do less. So it's that gamble of you don't know what the rolls would have been. Let's just guarantee it. I like it.
Yeah, it's sort of an effect where it's like, if you use it on yourself, it's like, ah, fuck, I have like 15 dot stacks on me. This is bad. Do I just want to take a lot of damage right now and not have to worry about this shit? That'll eat a lot of... You know what? Fuck it, get rid of this.
But somebody's gonna have to do the oh my wa. Ushindaru.
Bubby? But yeah, do we want to lock this into... Good.
So Vari, dots already bypass integrity.
E.
So, yeah, this would be guaranteed damage that bypasses integrity. The same as the dot it came from.
Yeah, because this would effectively count as condition damage. It's just more of like, let's get it over with.
And avoid the multiple 10s exploding.
Yeah. Because it could brick. It could. You could just take a cleanse action. But this is sort of also a decision, like if you're using it on yourself, of what if I just want it gone? And then on enemies, it's it sort of acts like a you can't just, well, you can, but it makes it a lot harder to just do things like heal tank through it. Or it makes it more dangerous to heal tank through it.
Alright, so, yes. Magic word for this. I guess you are right about the expurgate, you know, being more censorship-based. I'm
Can always go with a... Good.
I'm leaning towards Era's suggestion of fulminate, then. I know one of the definitions of it does not apply, but the other one does.
We could also just go with expunge.
I'm indifferent. Either one works. So I'll let you two fight it out.
Let me see if there's any words that mean to expel forcefully or dramatically. No, we're not using that word.
I can imagine it starts with an E, doesn't it?
No, this one starts with an S.
Oh, interesting.
Another one with a D that I won't use, and yeah, one with an E that I won't use.
Yeah, the one with the E, we
ex-
were joking about using that instead of emit at one point.
Yeah.
What about extirpate?
Extirpate. That would work.
I like it.
Extirpate. Yeah.
And
Well, because that
honestly,
basically is... Extirpate basically means to, like, pull something out from the roots.
Pretty much.
And honestly, when it comes to using obscure words, I think if anywhere that... if anything, we should be trying for obscure words in Magic.
Well, yeah.
Because it's supposed to be,
But-
you know, you're using the weird words that nobody ever uses, you know. You use the Draconic or the Latin or whatever, as opposed to the common English and such.
Yeah, the thing about it is that, like, I wasn't sure if this was going to be, like, specifically a magic-only name, which is why I wasn't too sold on making it some obscure shit.
Well, yeah, but Magic's only the only place that I feel it fits. Because it'd be weird to have a move that just does... Or at least I think it'd be weird to have a move that has that trait on it. And so it's like, okay, and I am going to... whatever word expunge all of their dots. They don't have any dots. Well, fuck.
Well, yeah, but part of the reason that I was thinking this up is because of the thing that we did with staged, like, abilities. So you could make it like, you know, stage 1 apply a dot, stage 2, you know, extirpate the dot.
Nah, I say Magic.
Yeah, but that's just the reason why I was like, this could work with moves, because it's like, yeah, obviously they aren't always going to have dot on them, but, like, you know.
Yeah.
Since it's gonna be magic, do we want it to be remove X dot stacks on target, convert however much you removed into direct condition damage?
Yes. This is not going to apply to conditions, though. It is going to be strictly
Yeah.
DOT
DOT stacks.
dots.
DOT. And I assume... I had an assumption that my brain shut off, and I don't remember what I was about to assume. Oh, I assume the cost is not going to be too high for the spell word itself, because...
No,
of
it's
the fact
it's a
it has-
conditional.
Yeah. That's what I was asking.
So magic word extirpate, remove X dot stacks on target, deal direct condition damage to target equal to amount removed. The reason why I said direct condition damage is just because condition damage bypasses integrity, so that makes it kind of clean.
Yep.
All right. So we can remove that from discussions. I'm gonna go with the most. I'm gonna go with some of the more reasonable ones overall before we start going into some of the bigger shit. So do we have? Because we have magic. Might is being worked on. What sort of design goals do we have in mind for the new edition of the character sheet that's going to have to come out when, we actually put that out? Because our character sheet is getting rather full, and every time that we do something like full of tabs, and every time that we, make big additions like this, we always tend to go through some design goals for the new edition of the character sheet. So I wanted to see what we were thinking.
I think what we should do is put out a poll. Or, one of the surveys. Get the community's thoughts on it. Because... I know that some people really like all that info on there. Some people find it way too much. So I think we should put out a survey before we can really discuss this. And see where the majority lies.
Alright. By the way, also, can I just, delete the Pokemon type reference tab on the character sheet? Because now that we have, exactly one game using it.
And I would really like to have that game switch as well. I am perfectly okay with that. Because if they need that reference, well, there's an entire internet full of it.
Well, then also, they have it on the prior editions of it. They have their old character sheets still. They could just copy it over from there.
Well, I was talking about for future players and such, but yeah.
Oh, that, yeah. That, and also, I can just fucking make one for the companion thing later, eventually. So I just deleted it. But the one thing, I love doing community polls and shit like that. It's just that the last time we tried doing community polls about the character sheet in general, we got a bunch of conflicting information.
I definitely understand that issue. And, I mean, when it comes down to it, if we have 51% saying that it's fine, then we'll go with that. It may not be the actual majority or whatever the proper term is for that. but it is still, well, it's the best data we've got. I think we should
Well, 'cause
go
the
ahead
reason
and
that
go
I
that
say-
route, though.
The reason that I say conflicting is because we would literally get, like, we would have, you know, questions that had, you know, sort of like, when I say conflicting, I mean, like, literally we can't follow both.
I know. Well, but at least then we've got the voice of the community and the playtesters to pull from for making those decisions. And we'll absolutely put at the start of it that we may wind up going with something other than what is said there. But we should get that info. We should get that, you know, let people's voices be heard at least. And it may give us some ideas that we haven't thought of.
Yeah, usually I just, like, direct message a lot of the players going, like, hey, what do you think of XYZ thing? But yeah.
Yeah, but also I do know that at this point we've got quite a few groups that are outside of, that are following our progress, but otherwise don't have any direct interaction with us.
Yeah, fair.
I do know that there's, I believe, 3 other games at least that I have been told about that aren't actually in, only the storytellers in ZGF.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure if they'll actually, you know, send it off to their players, but I can hope. And we can also get to the thoughts from those that may not be in a group right now, or in a campaign right now, but are looking at it and look at the sheet and are like, oh god, this is complicated, or, oh hey, I really like that they have this information here.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
somewhere in between.
we can set one up.
I mean, just as a gentle reminder to people, if you're overwhelmed by the amount of tabs, you can hide tabs.
You can hide tabs, yep.
They're not
Or you
gone,
just-
they're just hidden.
You can hide them, or you can just delete them if you really feel like you're not going to use the items and notes tab. For instance, you know, you don't have to keep it. But, you know, for a lot of the tabs, it's best if you just, you know, hide it instead.
But like on, you know, a lot of my sheets, I go through and make quite a few adjustments to them already, personally.
Yeah, I have
Huh.
one that I've actually started making, and I just haven't put it on the official one. Which is a better organized EXP section.
But like, well, the EXP tab is one that I don't mess with. I like that as it is. But I'll send this again to you, Tao, but also to you, Era.
I mean, I sent Tal the magic tracker that Thales has.
Yeah.
Well,
But also, it's about to be time for me to start, like, designing the new character sheet stuff.
but like, if you look especially on Furvis here's, on the specialties, feats, and features tab, I'm personally not a big fan. I'm not a fan of the giant list of all of the skills. Because while late game, yeah, it can be useful to have all that space, I think it's more beneficial to have this. just all of your specialties in one column that you can just be like, okay, this skill, it's tied to this skill, it's this specialty. This is far more useful to me than having to scroll all the way down the page to find what specialty is what. But that's one thing that I do that I find better. And I don't know if I'm the only one that is like, this down here is clunky as hell, which is why I want to reach out to the community. Because I find the individual skills clunky as hell. I think we could collapse this so much.
This is one of the ones where people are very conflicted on it. Because on one hand, it is clunky as hell, but there's also a lot of people who like having the ability to actually like fill out the different things, so that way they don't miss specialties that could apply to, let's say, their lore check they're making.
Yeah, but then, I mean, for me, I like this list because it's... Especially when a specialty in one could apply to other skills, it's like, okay. Ah, right, I've got slicing. I can try and use that with science. Or something, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, if you look at the thing that I sent you, this is how I've started, laying out the XP purchases. Obviously, like, I can only snippet, like, so much of it, but... like, if... It would continue scrolling down to be about, like, the same size, but... mixing it out into ability EXP purchases, specialty EXP purchases, feat EXP purchases, primeval EXP purchases...
I like this, but I don't know if I'm the only one.
A lot of people that I've shown this to like it.
It's a little
that's also
busy for
because
me, but...
Yeah. But also, part of the reason that I like this is when I help people on their sheets, or I'm the storyteller for people, and like I do this little setup for them, holy shit is it so much easier for me to figure out what they purchased where and when.
Do you think it would behoove us, and yes, I just used that word, get over it,
I wasn't gonna...
for the more controversial ones, to just offer two versions of the sheets, like two versions of the experience sheet, so that way people can choose which one they want to use, two versions of the specialty sheets, that way people can choose which one they use, and just hide or delete the other one?
I think what we should do... That would probably be a good idea. What I think we do is... Which unfortunately would be more work, but... What we can do is we put out that survey, and for the things that are very much, conflicted, where they're basically at 50-50, those are the ones that we can then know, okay, we'll put out two different versions. Like in the case of the EXP, we've got one tab that is this one here that Tal has put together, and another one that, if everybody's 50-50, then we've got a second one that is what we currently have. Which also, I don't know how I wound up spending 1 XP more on Furvis, but at least that's being solved shortly.
I was about to say, you should also probably update the tracker, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I haven't gotten into that yet. Busy.
Yep. But I suppose we could do that. That's going to make... I'm going to have to move stuff around again for the encoding part. Because, for instance, if I make two versions of the specialties, feats, and features page, that's where we currently have the health feats thing. And so I need to find a different place to put that. Because if I have two copies of it, that I'd have to have the
All right.
I guess I could make it, but it'd be a lot more complicated. I'd have to have the encoding check to see which ones are selected where.
Really easy solution. Have it, because the encoding relies on a sheet name specifically, correct?
Yeah, and if people rename it, it'll auto-update.
Yeah, so just make 2 versions of it. When people are creating their sheet, just make a little note that says delete or remove the one that you don't want and update the name to remove the 1 or the 2.
People
Then
are not
it'll
going to
auto-catch.
follow that.
People got to get better.
Do you know how many people already struggle with the fact that their tabs exist?
Yes, and that's why I said you can hide tabs. It's like how many people are not using Excel's basic function to do basic math and even complicated math for you when they're doing things. Because every time I'm showing somebody how to build a character, I'm like, hey, I do all these things and it does it all for me. They're like, how? Basic math.
Most of the damn things I've already automated anyway.
Yeah, I personally like with if you guys go to my ability slots, like with my full action chomp, the used and discounted XP is just directly copied over to the XP tracker.
God damn it, cat.
Yeah.
But that's something that I chose to do and manually set up. And like my power rolls are a combination, is just the power plus whichever relevant one over on the side. Like that is stuff that I personally do. But yeah.
Yeah, the reason that I don't do things like that is specialties. If someone has a specialty, that adds a +1 that I can't account for. Because specialties are custom.
Yeah. No, the only reason why I mention this is because people can do those things like that by themselves.
Yeah.
All auto-calculate, and I think more people need to learn how to use at least the basic functions of Excel.
Which, correct. However, the other part of this is I have to, like, for design goal things, I have to design the sheet assuming that people are not going to do that.
Yeah, which... Alternatively, you could just make 2 Well,
then I'd have to make 2 versions for every version of that.
Alternatively, we could make the base sheet without those options and then have people choose one and import it, but people are probably also not going to do that, huh?
They're not going to do that.
I would say, as far as the specialties go, those are intended to be situational anyways. So I would say put in the auto calculations, and then if somebody's got a specialty, we can just walk them through how to just put a +1 onto the code.
Yeah, but the other part of it is that, like, I really, really do not like doing that.
No,
because
I wouldn't put the abilities in. I wouldn't make those auto-calculate.
Because, yeah, I'm about to say, there's a lot of things that happen with that. The other thing being, if people have, like, guaranteed damage, or building power, or increased crit, or damage over time, there's little symbols and nomenclature that people will use in order to keep track of that. Like, in the power roll box. And in the power section.
I personally make use of the uses here, and then the application and save SR boxes for keeping track of those things. But that is
but then
my
that would
personal
break encoding stuff.
Yeah, I would leave abilities alone.
Because the other thing is that, like, let's talk about, like, hybrid abilities, for instance, where, you know, it does direct damage and it's a condition thing. That would be really annoying for me to put together and make it auto do everything.
That is fair. Also, Lava, hello there. How's my good boy?
But yeah, we could put out a survey about the character sheet and go with things like that. It's just also, it was time to start planning for it.
Yeah. I think we need to be on hold on that until after we do a survey, though.
All right. In that case, I will make a note on hold for survey and move this discussion point up. All right.
Also, Lava, welcome to Thunderfang as well.
Be right back. I'm going to really quickly take care of the cut my cat gave me.
Right. Next, we're going to start talking about weapons things.
Lava, you are a very silly kobold. Well, the fact that you're asking what Thunderfang is. Which, speaking of, did I ever actually get that one set up? At one point, I did have a very short-lived tabletop campaign that was called Thunderfang. It kind of fell apart because a number of reasons. The DM for it would literally just entirely skip travel. Like, we would leave a town, and then a fog would consume us, and suddenly we're at our destination.
Gary Gygax screaming in the corner.
Yeah. Like, it was like, what? Why? But that was one of the more minor parts of why it fell apart. But, otherwise, like, the main reason... We had a player in the campaign who was playing a rogue. However, we did not know he was a rogue because he was telling us all that he was a fighter, except for the DM. He was a rogue pretending to be a fighter. He had sold his leather armor in order to get padded armor and had it dressed up to look like plate armor and went up and tried to face tank enemies. So, we're all sitting there, okay, you're the tank, got it. You're wanting to be the tank, cool. And then he was dying over and over. And we're just like, how? Why do you not have any armor? Why do you not have HP? Oh, also they dumped their dex and their constitution. And they got really mad that they kept dying. And then I'm finally like, okay, give me your sheet. I want to look at this. And I discovered, why are you a rogue? Why are you trying to face tank as a rogue? Why do you not at least have leather armor? Why did you literally get the armor that gives you a penalty to your armor?
The worst part is that the Greatsword Rogue tank is literally a well-known and beloved character archetype.
Yeah, they weren't doing that.
I know, I'm just saying, like, the worst part is the fact that there's a way to make it work. It is known in the community, and it is generally beloved because it is silly, but it works.
Hi, Raichen. Mwah. Yeah, I was sitting there. I was the cleric, and I was sitting here trying my damnedest to keep them alive. And yet every single time they took a small hit, they were down.
By the way, I've played a Greatsword rogue tank. Very fun. Very fun build.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, it is a well-known and beloved way of doing things.
And it's just kind of funny when somebody hears that, oh, by the way, I'm actually playing a rogue.
Greatsword rogues are known and beloved.
Yeah. Yeah, Lava, you don't mess with the healer. Do not mess with the healer at all. After discovering that, I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not healing you anymore. And I started going in with AoE attacks to deal with enemies. I was like, oops, sorry.
Honestly, it was probably better for their longevity if you just tried to kill everything before they managed to kill your shitty dodge tank anti-dodge rogue.
Yeah, and then they kept getting caught in my AoEs, and it wasn't like I was purposely, doing it, but then, I'd go up, try to, to use my AoE, and then they would move in next to me, and I'm like, dude, I forget what, I think it was Tempest domain cleric that I was playing.
Classic.
But I had actual heavy armor and everything. I was an actual tank. And they wouldn't let me do the job that they could not. Dude, I love clerics. I wish more MMOs and the like had, cleric classes. You are tank. You are tank and you are healer. You are not going down.
I had a very funny build in Guild Wars 2 where I was just the shout tank that also had like the healing breath shit going on. So I would just give everyone around me cocainum and then just heal them all to full regardless of whatever else was going on.
Nice.
I was basically just playing just the equivalency of I exist near you and oh hey, your build gets hard countered by this boss, not anymore.
See, I have to be careful when I play clerics personally, because I oftentimes find myself getting really angry at my party and turning on the aggro side of things just to get the enemy down, because they ain't doing it fast enough. I prefer druids. Druids are the ultimately, oh, what do you need me to be today?
I'm just not a fan of the whole MMO. Ah, you are healer, therefore you wear napkins. Good luck. No, give me my full-ass heavy armor healer that will laugh at your attempts to take him down. That's fair, Raijin, that's fair. But still, I would like that. Anyways, where were we?
I have put things in the ScarDev thing,
Oh no.
which is stuff that I showed some people already, so, you know, not that bad. But this was sort of a continuation of our last dev session a little bit over a month ago, where we were talking about revamping a couple things to do with weapons. So I wrote down a couple of my thoughts on the matter, some changes that we could make, and then ended up making all the different, well, not all the different, but like, you know, just a bunch of different possible potential gems for the gem sockets.
I'm immediately putting this in a doc so I can actually read it.
Yeah, please share that with me.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was working on this when my internet was out, so it is on a notepad.
Well, I understand. I cannot read it from a Discord message. We're also going to change the font size because that's fucking huge. There we go. I sent it to you, by the way, Zim. Intel, I think.
I don't see a message.
Well, I give you. Oh, here, I'll just copy link then. And throw
Oh,
it
you
in.
just like do the email send thing?
Yeah, because I was already adding you guys as editors, so I figured it'd go through. But there's a link.
Well, that requires I open up my email and look through that, and that's a thing.
No, he stuck it in the
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
see that he stuck it in there. I was just saying that going the route he was originally going to go would require a lot.
Alright, I'm just gonna format this like slightly.
Do as you do.
But yeah, so there were a couple of good things to go over. First of which was that I think we should change the minimum power requirement on weapons to be minimum power cap. That way people can use it for things that are not just base power, and it becomes a lot more flexible. Since this was originally meant to mirror the rules for moves and the starting move base power being 4, but each weapon is supposed to be a lot more individualistic instead of it being a single starting item for character creation, so it's a bit more restricting if we just make it so must have power of certain amount instead of letting them use stuff like guaranteed damage or damage over time traits. This would also streamline the rules for weapons a good bit, because people get constantly confused by minimum, maximum caps of weapons.
I am very much on board with this.
Yep. Era?
No, I'm fine with that. I've had a lot of people complain about how confusing it was, so if it clears that up, I'm happy.
Do you think it clears it up?
We should...
I'm hoping it does. It should, because minimum power cap has different verbiage. I'm hoping that helps a lot.
Yeah. And as well as we should probably make it so it's minimum power cap on the base starting move people start with, but that's just like a personal opinion.
I don't understand.
So like, people's like 4 base powers starting move.
Yeah, what about it?
I guess some of the traits have different XP. I was thinking about what if we just made it so that way it had 4 minimum power cap that you could get, but then I realized, oh wait, yeah, different XP amounts. Anyway, moving on.
Well, the intention
I just
here,
not really-
as I understand it, is that the minimum power cap is something that... Or the power on the weapons was always intended to be, this is what the storyteller will set. So it could be that this weapon only has a power cap of 4, whereas this other one in the same, size and tier has, a power cap of 8, or whatever, That's how I understood how it worked. So I thought...
That is how it's supposed to work. But the
Yeah.
minimum power cap is also the amount that you have to spend for it to be a valid weapon.
Yeah, and we should definitely remove that.
Yeah. But this is part of streamlining. Next up, on the topic of streamlining, mundane and magical. We now have a codified magic system that can do things like enchant items. Do we want to try and make it so that way magical only traits of weapons are locked behind some of the interactions that we have with magic? Because there is a really good question on what to do, since magic, might, and moves are all considered to be optional modules that the game can run without the magic module, but include weapons with little issue. So do we want to keep a distinction between magical and mundane equipment, or do we want to hand-wave that distinction?
My brain is not parsing that right now, I'm sorry.
Alright, so we have magical and mundane weapons, and traits that are magical and traits that are mundane on weapons, right? Along with the different
Yes.
HP and stats and all that. Magic is optional. Weapons currently in Scar are not actually optional. You could exist in a game that has weapons but no magic. So then how do you get magical weapons if there's no magic?
Well, on that front, I would definitely say that magic weapons are a separate optional thing, that you can include those without the magic system, but it's heavily recommended that you include it with the magic system.
Alright.
AKA, if you don't include magic, but you include magical weapons, you better go ahead and BS a way to do it. It's technology, man.
Technomancy, woo. Anyway. So we do want to keep the distinction between mundane and magical equipment.
I would say so, yes.
Alright.
If there's
'cause
disagreement,
this does also-
by all means share, but that's what I think we should do.
I'm fine with anything. It's just more like we never really talked about this sort of stuff. So since weapons were going through like a minor revamping thing, I wanted to codify that because weapons existed before magic. So the magic weapon rules existed before magic. So I was like, hey, wait, we should square this away.
Yeah, we'll put it as an optional module for weapons that can exist independent of magic, but is recommended to have magic with it. But that way they can also just, the storyteller can just be like, yeah, the means of making magic weapons has been lost, but they still exist. So if you happen to get one, congrats. But I would say, do make sure you put in these, use this document, but put in the notes of what we're discussing here. Because I'm going to be referencing this document in addition to the notes doc for stuff. But yeah, that's what I think we should do. Just have it where you can have them.
So magic and mundane weapons keep their distinctions. Magic weapons do not require the magic module to exist.
Sounds good.
And our own set. As I forget how to spell separate for a second. All right, so one thing I did also want to bring up is that we have dedicated mechanic sections of moves, and we list them as an optional module, as well as magic and might. Weapons technically are not optional and do not have a module attached to them, as they're not locked behind might or anything like that. So is it intended for weapons as a base to be an always required thing?
Weapons and armor in that case.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is why I was going over thing, but this is going to extend to all the equipment things. Because all the equipment things are their own section and are not listed as a module and are not.
Yeah, they are technically... Currently, they are always required. I suppose we could make it where they can be an optional mechanic.
Well, this is more me double-checking, like, the design philosophy of it. I'm fine if they're always required. It's just more like bringing this up.
I think they should always be required.
It's kind of hard to find a world where somebody hasn't picked up a stick and said, I can slap somebody with this now.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like, I'm fine with it, but, like, double-checking, because, technically speaking.
Like... Yeah, we could always go the Pokemon World route where they just... Well, no, even there they have guns. They just never use them.
Well,
oh, no, they do use them.
Hunter J, they use them. They fucking use them, absolutely.
So yeah, yeah, equipment is always it always exists.
All right, and now for the fun things, such as socketed items. Since we now officially have sockets in the game, we didn't make gems to fill those sockets yet. So I went ahead and made a bunch of different colored gems that may or may not get accepted, but I made a bunch of them, so, let's see where this goes. These should not be type specific. Except for the specific, affinity type gem thing. So I just kind of thought we should go by the color code gem system that exists in other systems, especially RPGs and all that. And if people want to include type gems and all that, that's more up to them. But it would probably just work as, while gem is slotted, type imbuement. Scaling these appropriately is a bit of an issue, but there are a couple different scalability things that we can go with depending on where we want the power level of these to land at. And also, just in case, only the highest tier of any given type of gem is active. So you cannot slap together 5 tier 1 gems and it's the same as a tier 5 red gem. You cannot do the meme of slapping as many different sockets on your sword as possible and just absolutely hitting something with the force of God.
As funny as
No
that.
one. Funny, very funny. Not gonna happen. So I sort of took the different colors that commonly exist in games and I attributed them to Scar and Scar related things. So, for instance, red gems on a weapon slot increases physical power by tier. Obviously, when it says by tier, it's going by the gem.
The gems tier.
The gems tier. This is the effect of the gem.
Yeah,
Armor would increase physical negation by half tier. Shields, you get to choose between weapon or armor bonus when socketing. Sometimes shields will have their own bonus, and sometimes it will be choose between weapon or armor. Because they count as a weapon and they count as armor simultaneously.
Yeah.
And if you put it in an accessory, you gain a physical stat change effect equal to tier. So physical power or physical integrity increase equal to tier. And I guess I should say choose when socketing. So if you put in, a tier 1 red gem, you could get a, first level physical integrity increase effect on the accessory. To note, another rule that I apparently forgot to write down here: you cannot change out gems on stuff like accessories if there is any amount of charges used of that gem's effect. So you can't, run through all of your red gem accessory slot things and then take it out and put a blue gem in.
Oh,
You can only take out the gem if it's, fully charged.
I think instead, I like that. I think instead of them, because with this, they could get up to just instantly, boom, I'm using this, and I've got, +6 physical damage. I think what we should do...
No. It's the effect, in the accessory. They gain the accessory effect. Actual Scar accessory. Where you, use a quick action and you get +1 of whatever stat change that is, and you can use that effect up to the amount of times of the tier that you have selected.
Okay, yeah,
in that accessory.
Yeah, that's how I want it to work.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I don't know what that is, Furry, but probably not.
No, Vari, you cannot do Poe 6 links. I'm sorry. You are not going to fucking roll up with your highly negative, shitty tabula rasa equivalent and slot in a bunch of shitty 6-link gems in order to become God. That is not happening. I'm sorry.
I am become death.
Wearer of tabula rasa. Anyway, blue gems. It does the same thing, but it does it for ethereal-based things.
Now, when it comes to the
green.
weapons on these, real quick, so that is, you've got a tier 5 gem, so you get to add 5 dice to your power roll, right?
Yes.
Okay, wanted to make sure.
But, you know, you have to have a slot capable of taking a tier 5 gem.
Well, yeah.
And actually have the tier 5 gem. But yeah. If you're using it, that is what you get. It goes by the tier of the gem. So even if you have, like, a tier 3 gem, you're probably not feeling too bad about it, actually. Granted, you'd like to get that tier 5 gem, but hey, you know. Green gem. This one is accuracy on weapon. Armor, it decreases your evasion penalty by half of the tier. On a shield, you gain deflecting equal to 1/2 per tier. And accessory is you gain accuracy or evasion stat change effect equal to tier.
Isn't the maximum evasion penalty
5.
Oh, it is 5?
Yeah. So even if you get a legendary level gem, it'll just minus that by 4.
Oh, right. So,
and then you
because it's
could
based
get the
on...
yeah.
Okay, that works.
Yep. Do you remember what deflecting does on shields, by the way?
Not at the moment, no.
All right. Deflecting is an armor trait where the user would get +1 to evasion scores when using the dodge action. So let's say someone has a tier 5 green gem in their shield and they take the dodge action. They gain +3 evasion. But only when using the dodge action. If you have the dodge action activated, like the maneuver. If you don't use dodge, you don't get the +3. Yeah. Yellow gem is pretty good. It grants you additional targets by tier. Armor increases soak by half tier. Shield gain fortifying equal to the half tier. Fortifying increases integrity, but only when you're bracing. It works the same way as deflecting, but integrity and brace instead.
Yeah.
And then soul stave stat change effect equal to tier.
For the additional targets,
Want to make it like half tier?
Yeah. That's
I think I probably meant to put it as half tier, and then I just forgot to.
Even half tier, I think might be a little strong, but
half tier is EXP equivalency to the other ones.
okay.
I was looking at that, and I'm like, wasn't that supposed to be a half tier? And then I was just like, I'm just gonna change it back to half tier, even if I just forgot to. Orange gem, weapon increase guaranteed damage by half tier. Armor increase movement speed by 5 per tier, or we could make it so that way it's decrease the movement speed penalty. But I wanted this to also work if you put it in light armor. Also, we don't have too much in the way of the penalty. There's only 10 feet of movement speed penalty to reduce.
Yeah.
So I'm considering orange to be go fast.
I'm okay with
Even
that.
though normally red is the go fast, but unfortunately, I cannot make that meme happen. You're gonna have to settle with orange. Shield is choose between weapon or armor bonus when socketing. And accessory is initiative or speed stat change effect equal to tier.
I like those.
Yep.
It does feel like the
gem.
weapon one is quite a bit stronger than the armor one, but
Some of these are just better geared towards being in one type of slot than another.
yeah, that's fair.
But that's also because, like, you know, honestly, I would rather use red and blue gems and slot those into armor instead. Gonna be real with you, Chief. Increased
fair.
negations on armor is pretty fucking good. Purple gem. Weapon, increased damage over time by half tier. Armor is increased camouflage by half tier. Camouflage being granting you extra dice on stealth checks. Or I guess it's just was it stealth subterfuge or just subterfuge?
It's just subterfuge.
Okay, just subterfuge. I couldn't remember what it actually did for a second, if it was
Well, subterfuge
Anyway.
includes stealth under it.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, I forgot if I made it so that way it was subterfuge stealth or just subterfuge. It was just subterfuge. Anyway. Shield is choose between weapon or armor bonus when socketing. And the accessory is gaining a cleansing effect equal to tier. Cleansing being the one that, makes it so you have a minus difficulty on cleanse.
Yeah. I think that
White
should be half tier.
Why? Oh, no. So the cleansing effect, remember, this is adding on the effect to the accessory, so it goes by what the accessory does. It's not difficulty equal to tier. That's how many times you get to use the -1 difficulty per day.
Oh, okay.
Anything revolving around the accessory things is giving the effect that the accessory has. So whenever you see anything in the accessory column, it's just whatever it does in the accessory. White gem. Weapon, increase penetrating by half tier. Armor is increase elegant by half tier, or protected weak point by tier. You get a choice on that one. Shield is choose between weapon or armor bonus, and accessory is gain an instant healing effect equal to tier.
Yeah, sounds good.
Black gem is on weapons, gain lifesteal equal to 20% times tier. Armor is increased terrifying by half tier or spikes by tier. Shield is choose between weapon or armor bonus when socketing, and the accessory is gain a heal over time effect equal to tier.
Nasty.
I approve.
Slot in the black gem, your armor becomes spiky. Let's go. And then if people want to include them, typed gems. For a weapon, weapons gain the ability to do damage of the gem's type. Gain half tier power of that type. Armor gains tier amount of type negation. Shield is choose between weapon or armor bonus, and accessory may make an attack with tier times 2 power of that type.
So is the weapon one there or they get both?
It works as both. But it sort of acts as, you know how you're able to buy power of a different affinity on things? Like, you can, on your
Yes.
move, you go, oh, hey, it acts like that, where even if you don't choose to do that gem's type as the damage type on the attack, you will gain half tier power of that type. So, even if you don't use the fire type gem to make it so you deal fire damage and you keep it at slashing, you'll still roll that single dice of fire power. Of fire type power. I don't know if you want that, but I just thought that was like a neat inclusion, but it might make it a bit taxing.
It is half tier. Yeah, I'm okay with that, adding that.
Yeah. It's just more to... Honestly, it's just a little bit more flavory of, hey, you still get a slight power imbuement from the gem. You can choose not to engulf your entire sword in fire, but there's still a little bit of fire there. But yeah, that's all the gems I came up with, and I have absolutely no fucking ideas for further gems. Do any of you have any ideas about further gems?
Off the top of my head, currently, no.
Well, there's something that might utilize gems, but there is a question of we don't actually. I don't think we actually have it codified that weapons can just be physical or ethereal. So, do we want to just allow a weapon to do either physical or ethereal?
I just assumed that had to be decided at base.
That should be a base thing on the weapon.
Okay. I wasn't...
At least that was like... That was something that got mentioned. I don't know if it survived all the revisions, but that was something original.
I don't think it's codified right now in the rules. So I wanted to check on that.
Yeah, no, that was an intended one where you could have a weapon that does physical or ethereal.
Okay.
You just kind of have to choose when you make it. You don't get to, you know.
Perhaps a gem that allows you to switch between the two. For the weapon, I don't know what color we could have it, but for the weapon, it allows you to switch between physical and ethereal. For armor, it allows you to, I would
Switch your
say
physical negation and
Once
real
per-
evasion.
once per scene, you can switch your physical and ethereal negation. For shield, I'm not sure on that one. Maybe just
For shield, if you can't think of something interesting, it's always just going to be choose between weapon or armor.
Yeah, we'll probably do that.
Just call it a black and white gem.
For accessory, I mean, I think it's okay to have I don't think we should limit ourselves to having an effect for every type of equipment. While it'd be nice to have every gem be able to go into every type of equipment, I think we should leave ourselves open to just leaving some out.
Yeah,
Like
it was
this-
just more of like, you know, while if I could think of something, I'm like, oh, hey, that fits.
Fair. For this one, I would say it doesn't have any effect for accessories.
Let me scroll through accessories real quick and just see if there's like a particular good one.
Well, and I guess since like type gems are not going to be color based for names, we could call this the boundless gem.
Oh, it could be a clear gem.
Ooh, I like that. Clear gem.
I suggested black and white because yin yang without saying yin yang. But clear works.
I guess for the weapon, should we have it be where you can swap on the fly, which was my original intention, or should we have it be once per scene like the armor? Because the armor, definitely, we cannot just let them be like,
Yeah.
alright, I'm going to swap back and forth, back and forth. No, no, no. Either way, these will require a quick action, I think, to swap.
Probably once per scene. So might as well keep it congruent.
I think I could see the value of the weapon being able to swap freely, just you have to use a quick action to swap.
If there's an action economy cost every time, then yes. If it was going to be free, I was going to say, like, once per turn or once per scene, but yeah.
Yeah, I think quick action to swap, but you can do it as many times per scene as you want. Armor, still gonna cost that quick action, but once per scene only. This one definitely... This one...
We should also make it so that way they can go to physical, ethereal, or balanced, but I'm just trying to see what we actually called that officially.
We call it a balanced.
No, I'm saying, like, the choice between them. If we gave it, like, an actual name. Variety. We called it an armor variety.
Ah, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Did we only put that in armor?
Yeah, but that's the only one that really needs it. No, I think shields.
To be fair, we might want to
have it.
standardize it and call it category. Because it was classification was the light, medium, heavy. So I'm gonna put category for the physical, ethereal, balanced.
If I recall
Unless we
correctly,
want
I'm
to call it
pretty...
variety.
I think we'll just write it out as you may swap between the three. And I'll just write out the three different the versions. Rather than putting in a new umbrella term for one mechanic.
Yeah. The only other thing that I'm thinking about is that, what do we do for scaling?
I think with this one in particular, we do... Oh, right, because they could get a tier 1, 2, 3, or 5 gem or such.
We can make it so that way it's a free action to swap, but they can only swap, like, half tier times per day.
That would work for the armor. For the weapon, I don't know, though. Oh, wait. So they can swap for as a free action half tier times per
half
day.
tier times per day.
After that, it's a quick action. Yeah, I'm okay with that. It's not a very useful scaling, but, you know, it is a scale.
May swap between physical ethereal with a quick action. May swap as a free action 1/2 tier times per day.
Yeah, that looks good. Oh, armor, we need this specified.
Oh, yeah, it's a quick action.
Because even if they can do it multiple times per day, they still got to have that action economy cost.
And for this, I'm double checking the accessory things, and we put in cleansing. You know what? Here, actually, I'm gonna put in the purple gem averting as well. Averting grants +1 soul save against a condition.
Actually,
and it can be used. Go on.
I have an idea for the clear gem accessory.
Yeah.
Half times per tier per day, you may swap your physical and ethereal defense scores for an upcoming
Against
attack.
an attack. For a single attack.
For a single attack, yeah. So, you know, if you're built for physical and you're getting targeted by an ethereal, well, this would be a very useful gem to have for just being like, okay, I'm going to make all of my physical integrity be ethereal now.
Yep.
As a reaction, I think.
Yeah, well, it kind of has to be.
Well, yeah, but should specify.
But yeah, gems.
Yeah, I like this.
I decided to basically go, you know what, older RPGs, you had something going here, yoink.
I'm not going to disagree.
I loved the gems in Diablo 2.
Look, like I said, I looked at a lot of the old ones and I went, you know, y'all had a point.
Now I'm missing Golden Sun again. Because of the Jinn.
Oh yeah, those were a lot of fun. I wish that they would make another of that game. Or better yet, port them to PC. Do a remaster. Port them to PC. Give them. I love the mechanics of changing up your class and stuff mid-combat.
Also, I cannot wait for someone to socket a high-tier orange gem into light armor.
I am also slightly irritated that my save data from 1 when I got 100% complete file did nothing for number 2.
I just realized the hilarity of someone getting a legendary orange gem and going, yeah, that's going in my light armor. Plus 45 move speed. That is objectively hilarious. Would it be better used giving increased physical damage plus 4 to your weapon? Yes, but is it as funny? That's the real question, you know? Orange gem is the one that makes you go faster, so...
won't lie, Squirrel would absolutely, if he got his hands on that. He would probably buy other, like, if it were a matter of buying between multiple things, he would buy other things. But he would happily put that orange gem on his armor. Squirrel is very speedy.
Yep.
Vanishes Nova from Orange Gen possession immediately.
To be fair, that isn't the gem that you'd have to worry about him finding.
Now I'm more worried. What?
Imagine him with a purple gem. What if you make Nova accidentally be stealthy?
I don't know if he's smart enough for that.
That's why I said accidentally.
I still... See, to be stealthy means that you have to be quiet. And the moment that anybody asks a vague question or says something he doesn't understand, he's just going to shout anyways.
Yeah, but like a good minute later.
I don't know. I think Fast Nova still worries me more because I don't want to have to chase Fast Nova.
I have been very nice, and I have not been putting like a bunch of Zoomy stacks on Nova.
I am in Lost in Chaos. I'm half hoping that Hoot Hoot tries to fly away or something, and Squirrel just is like, "No, I am speed."
I just love that Vane is successfully presenting himself as the person trying to like herd this gaggle of overpowered people into being a coherent team, but like can barely fight himself.
It's gonna be so funny when people try going after him and find out he's actually one of the most combat capable people in this group.
I actually rebuilt my I rebuilt my Ember from being focused on damage to it has a 50% chance of applying Brittle 2 to you.
Hmm.
So that way, you know, if he's at range, he hits you with that, and there's a little bit of damage. Not much. But the main effect is brittle, so that way when he goes in with his axes, oh, it's gonna hurt.
Yep. Although you still gotta actually like apply the damn thing.
Oh, I've got application bonuses on it.
Ah, okay.
The save SR is basically nothing. I did not bother increasing that. Because, hey, if they're taking an action to try to cleanse it away, that's fine. That means they're not getting that action to do something else.
Sure. All right. Next, two things to bring up. First of all, consumable weapons and how they interact with XP.
That is definitely a tough one. What I am thinking is we have that be a generic, like you would just make a generic consumable weapon ability. So that way, whether you're lobbing grenades, potions, or what have you, you have... It's just, it applies to all of them. Which isn't ideal, but I can't think of a better way to do it. The one that would feel more fair, that is. Especially when you're dealing with consumables, often are going to have a wide variety of them for flexibility. It just comes at that cost of, well, you gotta replenish those consumables.
So basically, the consumables will have, like, their own minor stats, like, you know, one being, like, damage over time, because it's, like, a poison or whatever. Then you have another one where it's basically, like, a flashbang, but you would make a skill where it's, like, you know, consumable weapon skill. And
Ability, but yes.
if you buy... Well, accuracy, yeah. Consumable weapon ability. And you would add, like... Let's say I spend 30 XP to add on 5 accuracy. Whenever I throw something with a consumable weapon, I would get the 5 accuracy.
Exactly. And you can also add power and such to it as well. I would say that the XP cap for these would be half what they normally would be, because the consumable is going to carry its own stats with it. So, you know, if your normal XP cap is 30 for a standard action, or whatever, you can only put 15 XP into the consumable weapon ability, but, you know, the consumable is carrying its own effects with it. And, well, you don't really need skill or you really don't need to invest XP into how to make that grenade better.
The consumable is the consumable.
Exactly.
But also, you know, an interesting point, a lot of consumables by base will not have range abilities on them. So if you have a frag grenade, you might want to know how to throw that bitch good.
Yes, which is where that generic thing comes in, is that's where you'd invest your ranges and such. We'll probably have, you know, a limited list of traits that you can apply to it. Like, I don't think we're going to allow them to just be like, yeah, I'm using my XP to make the AoE bigger on this. That grenade's got its it's got its fear AoE. You're not making that better. You're not using your will to make it better.
I just thought about the very funny like idea of, yeah, so I know that this consumable lets me you know, have some target priority, but I made sure and put a bunch of indiscriminate on my consumable weapon ability to make sure it will AoE everything.
Oh, God. They only put indiscriminate on it and no range, so it's just like, and they drop it at their feet and boom!
I didn't say that this would let me survive. I said it would kill them. All right.
But yeah, do you like the idea of? I would say each consumable has half of the like the consumable needs to have an intended action cost. We're not going to allow dynamic on the actual consumable itself, but like when you are making a consumable weapon, it would have half XP cap. And then, like, you're not spending the XP. It's just what the consumable does has a max of half XP. And then you have your own ability to use it with half XP. Does that make sense?
Yep. I wrote down consumables will have their own free stats baked into their existence and have EXP cap equal to 1/2 the intended action cost of the weapon. The user does not need to spend EXP on this.
Correct. Do we want the... Well, you know... Do we want a baseline range for thrown stuff?
If it's intended to be thrown, there is a weapon trait called thrown that they should really put on the weapon. If it's meant
fair.
to be a thrown consumable.
That works.
It's just,
As
you
funny
know...
as it would be for a non-thrown grenade.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, that's just generally called a bomb. And then you activate the bomb in your hands and you realize, hey, wait. Wait a second. Alright, consumable weapon ability will impart its stats and effects into any consumable weapon that the character uses. Will have EXP cap equal to 1/2 the action cost of the ability. Is that how we want that worded and working? Actually, I just thought about a thing that may... Yes, with...
It's a little weirdly worded, but this is also for the notes, so I guess it only matters if...
Yeah, this is for the notes. This is for us.
Yeah, I think I understand that.
Tagline may use consumable weapons with this without additional action cost so long as they are at or below the action cost of the ability. So if you use standard action consumable weapon ability, and you use a consumable, a standard action consumable, you don't incur any extra action cost for it. But this doesn't let you use, like, a standard action consumable with a quick action consumable weapon ability.
I mean, I think I'm okay with them doing that. I mean, at the end of the day, like if
Well, they can, but then at that point, they have to spend the quick action and the standard action.
Well, they would just spend whichever is higher. So in that case, the standard action. But they get the bonus of the... they're just limited on how much bonus they can actually add to it.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of works that way anyway with the... you don't spend additional action cost so long as it's at or below the action cost.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, so now we can have consumable weapons.
Nice. Did we want to call it here? This is about the time we normally call it. Actually, normally we called it 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, there is one last thing that we kind of need to go over.
Okay.
It's literally one trait.
Okay.
Which is, Zim, time to bring up Cleave.
I've been dreading this one because brain no work.
Alright. So the way that Cleave is defined, it is a range trait worth 20 XP. Excess damage continues onto a valid target within 5 feet of the original target if the original attack could have hit them too. This continues until either excess damage is used or out of targets. The way that excess damage was meant to be defined was excess damage is damage that is dealt beyond the target's integrity. Chip damage does not count as excess damage. So, if you have 3 people standing in front of you, and you hit the first person with 12 damage, and each person has 5 integrity, the first person takes an attack for 12 damage. They took 7 damage past their integrity, which then moves on to the second person in line. that person would take 7 damage. And then you would go down to the third person, who would take 2 damage, which would turn into chip damage.
I don't know if I like that. Because that essentially means that, well, 12 plus 7 plus another 2, you know, you rolled for 12 damage and you're essentially dealing out, Brain doesn't want to do basic math, 21 damage?
10. Pass integrity.
Well, I'm not...
Because it's 7 on the first guy, 2 on the second guy, and then 1 on the third guy. If you want to include every single bit of it, then yeah, it's like 21.
Yeah. That's the way it's essentially functioning.
Alright. Counterpoint. I could have just put additional target on there, and I would have hit for 36 damage. If I put the same XP amount of additional target.
Yeah.
And I would have hit for almost twice the amount of damage.
What are your thoughts on this, Sarah?
I'm very tired, so I apologize. If I'm so it's only if you knock down the first person to 0, correct? Is that the way it's working?
No.
Okay.
Excess damage is damage dealt past integrity. You do not have to kill or knock down or wind the initial target. This is, let's say, you take your sniper rifle and you shoot someone, and you have 3 people in a line. It will keep going until the bullet runs out of damage, effectively. You do not need to take out the first person for it to go through to the second. It just has to get past their integrity to keep going. And the integrity subtracts from the damage each time.
Oh, okay. Brain finally clicked. I was sitting here like, but how often are you going to knock somebody down with a shot like that? That sounds kind of... Where's the...
It would be
No, I get it
useless
now.
otherwise, yeah.
It is an interesting way of handling it. I kind of like it, but I'm worried about... Well, they'd have to be within 5 feet.
Well, you can put it on melee or ranged, but it has to be within 5 feet of the initial target. And then the third target, if it goes on, has to be within 5 feet of the second target. And the attack would have had to have been able to hit them. So you can't do a normal size sword slash and then hit the person behind them. It would have to have had reach.
Yeah, I'm just... Well, one thing I would... 2 worries. One, your sniper rifle example. Well, person 3's 5 foot step to the left. That means that you're technically directing a bullet. Which is like, I guess, okay. And my brain just deleted number 2. What's the cost going to be?
20 XP. This is a trait that already exists. This is just clarifying how it works. It's a 20 XP range trait that takes up the AoE slot.
I guess I'm also slightly worried about how complicated it is, but I get it. I'm going to say I'm not necessarily against it. I'd be fine with it. I'm not against it. I'm not sure how I feel about it right now. Because it's interesting and I like it, but it's one of those...
It also gets defeated by people being 10 feet apart.
Yeah, it's also a little weird.
The reason that it gets defeated by people being 10 feet apart is because, first of all, the other AoEs exist. And second of all, because I don't want people saying, I have cleave, and then trying to play fucking Warhammer tabletop and bringing out, like, a laser pointer to go see with this line it hits both models.
Yeah. No. And you were saying you're not exactly a fan of it, correct, Zim?
Yeah, it's something that is interesting, but I'm like 60-40 against it. It's something that I wouldn't be super upset if we kept it as is, but it's also a very weird one that I'm not sure if I like.
Do we want to make one of those things where we hand it to the I almost said fandom for some reason, the community, and be like, is this good or not? Does this make sense? I guess my big concern with this is the way that it's worded and everything. While it makes sense, it would be one of those things that gets really confusing to some people.
The explanation about what excess damage is defined as is in the trait description.
Yeah.
So when I said excess damage is defined as, that's in parentheses in the trait.
Yeah, because, well, Zim is 60-40 against. I'm like, I guess like 60, well, 0 against 64, and like 40%.
40% fuck it, do whatever, man.
40%. I just, what's a good way of saying I have concerns that I can't say are actual concerns until I see people trying to use it? What's a good way of Englishing that?
You're not sure that it'll work as we intend it to or without complications, but you're not sure what those might be until people start using it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Tal, for knowing English words that do English. Yes.
Yes. I will say I did use it a little bit, but then I just kind of mostly stopped using it because this got put on the docket, and we haven't been around to work on it for a while, so.
I think what we're going to do is leave it as is for now and leave it on the docket to discuss for next session when we're hopefully, you know, all more at 100% and have some time to think about it a bit more.
Yeah. Because I will admit, it's a little bit weird. It's just that this was literally the best way I could think of for doing a cleave trade that doesn't require going down an entire character's worth of a feat tree like it in order to function like it does in, you know, D&D and Pathfinder.
Yeah. Next time when me and Zim aren't apparently half dead. Sorry, as I said, I'm starting to get tired.
Hey, fair enough.
Alright, I think that this is where we're going to call it. We'll leave it on the docket and discuss it more next time.
Alright.
So, for now, thank you everybody for joining us for this somewhat difficult DevTale session. check out our website, zgfgaming.com. We've got links for our Discord, Telegram, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Patreon, and more. They are on the website as well as down in the description below through our link tree. Thank you to my patrons, tippers, and subscribers. It is your support that keeps this channel alive and going. I cannot do this without your guys' help and your support, so thank you. Consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/zgfgaming. It's one of the best ways to help out the channel, though you can also do so by sharing the stream around, grabbing packs of cards to stream loots, using our Humble Bundle partner link, or going and checking out our Scar system and letting us know what you think. But for now, thank you so much for joining, everybody, and I bid you all the most fondest adieu.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.